Alright, so this is Dakota. He's a 4-year-old quarter horse, buckskin, bred by Kitty Cruz of Cruz Paint and Quarter Horses in Malacca, Minnesota. You can check her out on her Facebook page. If you've seen Rincon, the 6-month-old dun that I've been training, the 6-month-old colt is actually Dakota's uncle. He is out of the same sire and dam as Dakota's dam, so they're fairly closely related. Dakota has not been worked with for the first 4 years of his life. He's just been out in the pasture with his buddies. Come on, back up. Until July of this year, and I spent about 8 days in Minnesota doing some groundwork with him. I had done some groundwork with him the year before as well, but this summer I actually got 8 straight days of groundwork on him, doing the fundamentals. And by day 6 I had a saddle on him. Day 7 I got on him and rode him for 20 minutes in the round pen. Rode him again for 20 minutes on day 8. And then we ran out of time and had to go back to Washington. But then when we brought the colt home in early October, we brought this guy with us from Minnesota back so that I could train him up using the method, and then he'll go back to Minnesota to my cousin's place. He's a little lazy, but that's a lot better than where he started. He was very hot and nervous and reactionary when I first started working him. Couldn't really do really much with him. He was pretty much on fire and hard to handle. Good boy. Get him moving a little quicker here. He's got a nice slow jog that's an easy gait, but his trot is nice and smooth. He moves out pretty good. Good boy. Trying to get him to start turning over his hocks a little better. There, he's turning off his rear. He's not digging in by any means yet, but he's been very easy to work with overall. Pretty quick learner. Not a lot of resistance, picks things up pretty fast. But in the last week, he started being a little bit more, oh, I don't know how to say it, just kind of snotty and obstinate all of a sudden. Not exactly sure why. And so, good boy. We had a bit of a come to Jesus meeting on Sunday and really just kind of expecting more out of him. I think at the end of the day, that's really what it is that just getting a little complacent with some of the easier exercises, and I haven't been asking enough of him. Maybe getting a little bored, and then a little disrespectful because I just kind of lost some momentum with him. And so we've gone back to the basics. I realized the mistake I made now under saddle, in that two things really. I didn't spend enough time doing one rein stops. He picked them up very quickly, right in my seat. And, you know, I did it quite a bit, but I really should have spent some more time on it, because then later on, when I started doing yield to a stop and bending at the walk, when I went back to try to do any one rein stop, he'd kind of forgotten how to do it, because I hadn't been throwing them in enough, you know, during cruising exercise and follow the fence and diagonals. And so he just kind of got confused. Good boy. And so anytime I do a one rein stop, he'd just sit and yield his rear. And so I've kind of realized that now, and so I'm going back to some of the early fundamentals, both on the ground, to kind of get some respect back and get his, good boy, get his head back in the game. Good. Now you can see he's starting to turn off his rear, being a little less snotty about it. He's still tossing his head at me a little bit. And then the same under saddle, just really getting those one rein stops down cold. Came in a little close on me there. He should know better than that. Drive his front away. There you go. Good way to get him to stop doing that screaming U-turn and coming in close to you. Drive that front away once they yield. There we go. Good boy. And you can see when he's done working here, he calms right back down. Works with some energy, and he goes back to pretty much dead calm when you go to desensitize him, which is great. Good boy. We've been just working on just brushing up on some of these fundamentals and getting that earlier stuff sharper, more drilled in. Kind of coming in on me here, anticipating moving over. He'll just front away from me. There you go. He was just anticipating switching sides. I want him to do that until I give him the cue, of course. Go back and do a little bit more. Again, anticipating. Need to get him to leave with a little more energy. Good boy. There you go. Good boy. More of a screaming U-turn there then. There we go. Picking his front end up too high, but at least he's starting to turn on his rear. There you go. Goofball. There. Good boy. Footing here is not real great for a consistent lope for these guys. It gets real deep out there in the middle. Good boy. I'll try and fix that tomorrow and get the footing here a little bit more consistent for him. See how he kind of tries to hop through the deep sand. Good boy. You can see what I mean by he's kind of lost his. There you go, good boy. I just didn't get this instilled into him deep enough, and I didn't continue to do it off and on often enough when I moved on to other exercises. I also didn't ask enough of him, and so I'm learning. That's probably one of the bigger mistakes that I've made overall, is keeping a horse in the learning stage too long and not moving into the do it now stage once they actually know what you're asking them to do, and not expecting more out of them sooner and accepting too low of a, just having too low of a bar for acceptance. They actually you're going to get what you expect out of them, and if you don't expect much, you're not going to get much. So you got to have some higher expectations and keep pushing them. Otherwise, they're just going to get dull to the exercise. They'll get a little sour on it. Never going to get any better. Nut job. Let's try that again. Come on. A little better. Still kind of reactive. Come on. There you go. Like there, he knows that he should be backing up off of that wiggle. Anticipating. There you go. That's better. Yeah, sure, come on in. Good boy. So we're getting there. We're redoing some stuff. That's all right. We're both getting better at it. You can see he does go right back to neutral. Pretty easy. We're still learning on kind of yielding our head down. Stands here pretty good. Good boy. Good boy. All right, so now we're going to go back to got to do a little better about keeping him out of my hula hoop, which is mostly my fault for allowing him in when I shouldn't. So we've been working on side passing on the fence. I usually do a little bit of the sending exercise now as kind of a, just kind of always doing a bit of a refresher. And so I'm making sure not to let some of the earlier exercises go away. Again, you can see this is another one. While we had it pretty good early on, we lost our way. Although not too bad. Not too much of a U-turn there, and not a yield. Come on. Come on. Being very reactive now. Okay. I'll give him a little more room here. Yeah, that's a little better. There you go. We need to go back and work on yield the hindquarters, stage 2 here. That's really, I think, what we really need to do here. He's just not yielding his rear the way he ought to. So, we're gonna go do that. I always come in with a plan, but I'll let the horse try to tell me what he needs work on. Right now we need to work on yielding our rear and not side passing like I had planned to do. So, like always, we're going to do a little desensitizing after a sensitizing exercise. All right. He's really yielding his rear off this left side here that he was struggling most with. So, we'll do more on this side. So I'm going to start out behind the drive line. Get his head tipped around just a little bit here. Walk out big. 1, 2. I need my string for this so I can reach his rear end and get it to yield away from me a little better. Oh, there we go. That's not bad. That's what we're looking for. A little reactive, but at least his rear is moving away from me and not his front coming around to block. A little bit. But he's primarily moving his rear around the front here. I'm sure he doesn't anticipate. Block. Blocking me a little bit with his front end. Yield his front end away here. Rub him to a stop. Good. Rub it away. And there we go. Good. Boy. Anticipating a little bit there. Reactive, but blocking me a little. Kind of walking forward a little there before he yields his rear. So I'm going to try to get his head bent a little bit first. rub to a stop here. All of a sudden, there we go. Good boy. Yeah, see, I picked up on the rein, and he took off. So. There, that's much better. Much better. There you go. Good boy. Good boy. I'm not going to stand still for a few steps, and I'll just yield him again. There you go. Good. Good. There you go. Good boy. There. Good. Come on. Get out of their way. Good boy. All right, let's do that other side a little bit more. A little bit more sticky on this side. Anticipating again. There you go. Good boy. Good. Good boy. time here, just letting him stand here since he's being a little anticipatory and a little reactive. There we go. Good. Alright, so we're going to call that good for the groundwork today. A little desensitizing, and we'll saddle up. So the lesson is, don't let the fundamentals slip away. You got to always continue to work on them. You got to redo them pretty much every day. Just pick a few of them, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, and just go through them real quick. You know, once you get them down to a B and you move on to the next exercise, you got to continue to redo and keeping those fundamentals in there. Start them, use them as a warm-up before you get going. Just go through a bunch of them real quick. Good boy.